Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We are going to go ahead and start our presentation today. We'll give everybody a minute or two to continue getting logged in as we start here. My name is Leanne. I'm one of the trainers here at Listrak. Welcome to our workflow webinar series, session 2 on shopping cart abandonment. I'm also joined by Crystal, another one of our trainers here in the Learning and Development Department. So we are going to go ahead and jump into the Listrak platform today. We are going to be using a demo account. So if some things look a little bit different in our account than yours, that might be why. But of course, the first thing to go ahead and get started with as we're building out a workflow is to navigate to the workflow channel within Listrak. So this is a new channel for us, and you can access it by clicking on the Listrak logo and coming down here to workflow. So you may see a list of different workflows listed out here if you've already started building along, or you can come up here to create a new workflow, which is what we're going to do today. And from here, you can choose the type of entry event. So that's what is occurring to enter a contact on your site into the workflow. So of course, for today's session, we're going to choose cart abandonment, and it's going to open our new workflow. So the first step, of course, like many things that we're going to do today, is to go ahead and give our workflow a name. So you can name this whatever you'd like. I recommend giving it something that's easily identifiable. And then you can start building out your campaign. So throughout today's campaign, we're going to start by transitioning over our existing conductor conversation. You might have a 3-message email series, and then we'll talk through how to utilize additional channels and to customize a contact's experience based on different information that we're collecting about them, like the items that they're abandoning. But before we get to that step, we're going to start by adjusting the 2 properties that are automatically added to our canvas. So by clicking on the cart abandon event, you can tailor how contacts are added into this workflow. So the first step, you'll see when I click on the event, I can edit my properties. So the first step is going to be selecting your merchant. You may only have one merchant, or you might have multiples configured in your account. This is the domain where the abandonment occurred. And then you can set your re-entry rules. So re-entry rules control how often a contact can enter the conversation, or into our workflow rather. So no limit allows a contact to enter each time they abandon a cart, even if they are already in the workflow. One time allows them to abandon one time throughout their whole experience with Listrak, or custom allows you to limit it to only entry over a certain number of days. So for those of you who have a conductor conversation that may have a 7-day wait step at the end of your abandonment campaign to hold someone before they can re-enter, this is the workflow version of that. So for instance, if I put 14 days here, I might have a 7-day workflow path, and then an additional 7 days where I don't want someone to be able to re-enter the campaign for a total of 14 days. You can also use entry prevention rules as well. And this allows you to prioritize one campaign over another. So for those of you who are familiar with thread ranks in Conductor, this is how we're able to do that within workflow. So you can select currently in workflow, and you'll see a list of all of the workflows that you have created here. So for instance, if I select my post-purchase thank you workflow, anyone who is currently in that post-purchase thank you workflow would not be entered into the shopping cart abandonment workflow when they abandon a cart. And you can configure multiple workflows by clicking on Add Rule, or you could go ahead and click the X if you wanted to allow them in every time they abandon. There is also a handy notes feature here. We just added this. So if you're collaborating with somebody on your team and want to leave notes about your logic, this can be a really helpful way to communicate with each other. So now that we have our entry event properties set, we know that someone is only going to be entered into this workflow once every 14 days, and only if they're not in our post-purchase thank you workflow. We can come down here to the exit event on the canvas and click on that to edit these properties. And the exit event allows you to exit someone out of this workflow if they take a specific action. And you can see the different types of actions listed out here in our dropdown. So for instance, we might want to exit someone out if they purchase at some point during this workflow because they've taken the action. That's really the goal behind our shopping cart abandonment campaign, to get them to come back and purchase. And again, you'll configure that specific merchant associated with your abandonment campaign. You can add additional events here as well. So for instance, another one that is very common in the shopping cart abandonment campaign is clear cart, because your contact has taken an action to indicate that they're no longer interested in the type of information that would be contained in that message because they've gone in and emptied their cart. You can configure other events here based on the specific goals of your campaign. So you can configure if they enter a workflow, like that post-purchase workflow, we could exit them out of the shopping cart abandonment campaign. But I'm going to stick with the two traditional examples in our exit event. And now I'm going to begin configuring the campaign. So I'm going to start with a wait step, and anytime you add an element onto the canvas, you can drag it to where you see that plus sign. And then you can click on the step to configure the properties. So in this case, it's a certain duration for a number of minutes, hours, or days. And this is in addition to any timeout that you have set on the shopping cart abandonment timeout in the SEA settings. And then I'm going to drag in that first email, so the first shopping cart abandonment email a contact would receive. I'm going to go ahead and give it a name. So just give it SEA message 1 and then select the list in my account. And this is going to be really important because selecting a list allows you to utilize any profile information for a contact. So for instance, in shopping cart abandonment, that's going to include important information like what's in their cart. You can create a new message, which will take you into the authoring screen that I'm sure most of you are familiar with and use quite often when you're authoring a broadcast message. Or we're going to use our copy from conductor feature today. And you'll notice that it's already pre-selected my list, and I can simply select any of the conversations that I might have built out on that list. In this case, I only have one. And then I can choose the specific message. And my messages are grouped by the specific thread that they are in this conductor conversation. So I'm going to use the first message in that cart abandoned thread and simply click select. And now it will copy my message over from conductor into workflow. I can make any changes by coming in here to edit that message, and those will only be reflected in the workflow, not in my conductor conversation. And really, it's that simple. We're going to take this process 2 more times by dragging an additional wait element. In this case, I might want my duration just to be something simple like 2 days, and then drag in a second email and go ahead and again give it a name. Select that list again for the abandonment list, and then go and repeat that process of selecting the conversation, and in this case, the second message in the cart abandoned thread. And then we'll repeat that whole process 1 more time to add in the third message from my campaign. So I'm going to make this wait 3 days for my duration, and then add in the third message. So again, we'll give it a title, select my list, select a message from my conductor conversation by selecting the conversation and then the message. And that quickly we were able to transition an existing conductor conversation into workflow. Now, some of your conversations might have additional elements. For instance, I might want to add a coupon to incentivize someone if they haven't made a purchase before they receive message 3. So I could drag a coupon element in between any of the elements on my canvas where I see that plus sign. When you're configuring a coupon in workflow, there's a couple of steps that you're going to take. The first one, again, is to give it a name. So I like to use the percentage off. And again, select the merchant associated with your campaign, and then the specific coupon. And here in this dropdown, you'll see any of the coupons that you've configured in the coupon section of the Manage tab. So I'm going to select one of the SEA coupons that I have. And my last step is to create a unique coupon tag. And the coupon tags are a new element in workflow. So you may be familiar with using a profile field in a conductor conversation. This is going to replace that. So you'll see there that underneath the coupon tag that I'm creating, I'll have that tag populated for me. So I'm going to copy that tag so that we can update our message 3. To update message 3 with that new coupon tag, which you'll also see is here on the canvas, I'm going to click on that message and go into Edit Message in the Properties panel. And I can update any of my message properties like my subject line or my analytics, but I want to edit the design here for this particular message. And you can see that this message, because I copied it from Conductor, has the old coupon code. You'll know that it's the old coupon code because it's using the carets as opposed to the brackets that we're going to see when I paste in the workflow tag. And you can replace this the same way in both HTML and in Composer just by pasting over that tag. So I'm simply going to apply my design and update my workflow email message at the bottom. And this is going to save that updated version into my workflow. So now my contacts are receiving an offer in message 3. So I've already added one optimization to my campaign. So maybe I want to start adding additional optimizations. For one, I might want to take advantage of the fact that workflow allows me to message contacts in multiple channels. So maybe I want to include an SMS message in my campaign. And I can drag this directly into the same flow of my workflow, which means if someone is opted into my SMS campaign, they would receive both the email message and the SMS message. And I can give it a name. Select my short code if I had multiple short codes provisioned, and then click in here to create my message. And for those of you with SMS, this interface is going to look very familiar. We're going to select our list, and this is a demo account, so it's hooked up to our master list. Of course, we'd want it to be hooked up to our abandonment list if we were creating this campaign. And now we can draft our message content. So I could go in and type in my message here. But right now, if I just stop there, it's going to tell our contacts that their cart is lonely, but they can't take any action. So we might want to add in some additional information about their cart. And those also are going to incorporate some new workflow tags. So I mentioned at the top of our session, we were going to take advantage of one of our Help Center articles. So you can see here we have a Help Center article about how to add information about abandoned cart items or browsed products into our SMS messages. And one of the most common examples that you're going to add into your campaign is your cart link so that someone can click through that SMS message and actually take action and go back to your site. So if you wanted to add any of these tags, simply copy it, and then you can paste it into your workflow SMS message. And you could include multiple tags here if you wanted. Once you've completed the configuration of your message, you can create your workflow SMS message. So now we'll be able to see that I have both my email message and my SMS message. From here, I might want to continue customizing my campaign by changing a contact's experience based on the items that they have in their cart. And that's going to use our cart details decision split, which is a unique element to the shopping cart abandonment workflow, which allows you to change a contact's experience based on things like the SKU of the item in their cart, the category of those items, or things like the cart total. So for instance, I may want to change the coupon offer based on if they're a high value abandoner or a lower value abandoner. So I'm going to drag this cart detail split directly above message 3 and my coupon because I want to change that. And I like to put my detail split so that it only includes the elements that are going to be changing. And I can simply click on that decision split to edit my properties. So I like to name these so that I know who's going down my yes path and who's going down my no path. So I could name it high value cart, and then we can begin configuring how we're determining if someone's going down the yes path or the no path. So for instance, in this case, I want to use cart total. And then because cart total is saved as a numeric value, I can use operators like greater than or less than or equals to. And I'm going to put $100 here for my merchandise value. So anyone who abandons more than $100 worth of merchandise will be directed down my yes path. And anyone who abandons less than that would be directed down the no path. I might want to give the 10% off to those lower value abandoners. So I could simply drag those elements into the no path of my split. And then I can begin configuring the experience for my high value abandoners. So for instance, I want them to receive a different coupon. So I'm going to drag a new coupon element. And I'm going to give our high value abandoners 15% off. And we'll repeat the same types of steps that we did when we configured our first coupon by selecting our merchant, and then our coupon, and then configuring our tag. And again, we're going to copy that tag so that we can include it in a message. And now I could drag in a new message. I could import one from an existing conductor conversation, but all I want to change between my high value message and my low value message is that coupon itself. So I'm going to duplicate the message that's already created and used here in workflow. And I did that just by clicking on the message and then clicking the duplicate feature, much like anybody who might be familiar with duplicating components in Composer. And then I can update a couple of properties, for instance, my step name. So maybe I just want to update that. You'll notice that it's going to say copy in front of it originally. So we'll call this message 3 high value. And then I'm going to come into that edit message option so that I can update my properties. And again, we could update my analytics if I wanted to have different analytics for those messages. But here, I really want to edit 2 properties in my message creative. One, I of course want to replace the new tag with the FCA 15 off tag. And then I want to change the call out of that message so that it says save 15% to reflect the new discount. Then I can apply my design and update that workflow email message. And again, any of these updates that you make will only reflect on that particular message. So now my customers are going to have a couple of different types of experiences. If they're subscribed to my SMS campaign, they're going to receive those SMS messages, and they're going to receive different offers based on the value of their cart. And now I may really want to capture those higher value abandoners. So let's add one more optimization to this campaign, which is that I want to give my high value abandoners one last chance to purchase from their abandoned cart. But I only want to do that if they've given us a reason to know that they're interested, like if they've clicked through this message. And I can use the engagement split to do that, because that's going to let me tailor my actions based on if someone's opened or clicked through an email or clicked through an SMS message. But before we configure the specifics of the split, there's one crucial detail we need to add, and that's a wait step in between the engagement split and the message, because that's how long Listrak is going to monitor to see if someone took that action that we're looking for. So I'm going to select 2 days here. So Listrak's going to wait and see if at any point in those 2 days someone takes that action. So in the engagement split, I'm going to say clicked message 3, because that's the action I want them to take. And in the condition section, you can choose the type of message you want to look at. In this case, we're going to look at email. And then for email messages, you can say clicked or opened. And last but not least, you can choose the specific message. So this is another reason that it's really good to label your message steps so that they can be easily identifiable for something like an engagement split. And last but not least, of course, we want to customize those paths. So I want to use the same message that I used in message 3. Maybe I just want to update my subject line. So we're going to use that duplicate feature again. And we're going to drag that into the yes path of this split. You could escalate the coupon if you wanted to. If you use the same coupon tag in 2 different messages, it will just populate that same information. So again, we're just going to make some quick updates, like to the name of my step. And we'll click in here to edit message. And we'll just give it one subject line update for our example today. And scroll down to the bottom and update our workflow message. So now, in just a few minutes, we were able to completely optimize this campaign by using multiple channels, changing the offer to hopefully capitalize on those higher value abandoners, and even take it further and really try and capture the intent of those higher value abandoners who are engaging with our shopping cart abandonment program. So there's a lot of different options and different ways that you can utilize these inner shopping cart abandonment campaigns.